taking on Xron, who we just saw taking down the last hope for Australia. That was Astro Boy getting knocked out, and now he moves forward here to take down Clawz, who's coming to us from Belarus.
Of course, both of these guys being on 2Z in Sacrifice, who are actually kind of a bit of a favorite in their bracket there. They are going to be dueling against each other, knocking each other out potentially. Well, definitely now here. And I haven't seen them duel each other too much. I'm sure they've practiced together. Xron, of course, having just played against Dan the King, a.k.a. Astro Boy. It was a very fast, very brutal match. I think part of that was just due to the fact that, you know, they've never had an opportunity to play each other before and feel at each other's styles. But I'm sure that's not the case here. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of mutual respect and trying to figure out each other's strats a little bit.
Both these guys are incredibly young, too, if you looked at the age. There's Xron only 21 and Clawz is 19. I think that's one of the few players I've seen that's under 20 in the Quake community here so far. It looks like we have, we do have the maps ready to go. So let's take a look and see what the selections were for these two players. Looks like Clawz has gone for the Corrupted Keep, so we're going to jump right into that very fast-paced arena again. Then over to Blood Covenant, which we also saw played in the previous matchup. I think that was Xron's pick in the last series as well. Ruins will also be it. So it's basically it's the same maps as the last series, just the order's reversed a little bit.
Same maps, different players. It'll be a different game, I'm sure. Even if the champions are a little bit the same, I think a lot of it will come down to just individual play styles and preferences.
And also important note here, too, you can see from the hoodies, I believe both of those guys are coming in from the 2Z roster on Sacrifice, so that's another thing. It's just like the Dahong Rafa situation. Both of them probably practicing with each other quite a bit. They probably know each other's strategies. I don't know if we'll see the super fast-paced play from Xron anymore, because he may be a little bit scared to do it, as his opponent might just be expecting that.
Certainly these matchups of teammates going off against each other was not intentional. Surely.
It's mirror picks so far. We'll have to see if Xron ends up going for the Anarchy 2 or if he goes back to the Ranger. Yep, he'll stick with the Ranger pick, which was the same picks that he was using back in that duel versus Astro Boy, so he's just going to keep the same thing going. Work for him there, came down pretty close, but that was a very fast-paced fight, so you kind of expect that to be relatively close.
Yeah, and again, on Corrupted Keep, it's difficult to make that Ranger play happen super consistently. You have really tight angles on the heavy armor, which makes it kind of difficult. On the Mega Health, though, you have a few more opportunities, a few more places you can spam that in from. But of course, I'm sure his opponent will be aware of that and playing around it.
Absolutely. We should be loading into that map in just a couple of seconds here and getting started on Corrupted Keep. As soon as those players are in and the warm-up has concluded, we will be starting off this quarterfinal to see who gets to move through and get even further into the money now. Obviously going for that first place pot of $100,000, but there's also some good prizes waiting for third and fourth as well if you can get into the semifinals.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, we've already seen Xron's LG in the last matchup, and we saw a lot of Clawz's LG yesterday in Sacrifice, and I think Sacrifice is a great place to, kind of figure out your LG, figure out your target tracking, your target priorities. Of course, here in Duel, there's this one guy you got to worry about.
All right, guys, well, the match has started, so let's jump into it. Take a look and see who's going to claim the first victory here in this best of 3 series. Starting it off on Corrupted Keep, and again, mind you, this was Clawz's map pick. We'll get to see if we get to see that aggressive action. It looks like it's going to be the case, but it'll be a little bit slower since it's Sorlag v Sorlag. We have the Ranger tossed into the mix this time to kind of speed things up a bit.
This nail gun damage is absolutely brutal, though, but trying to come back over the statues, Xron is getting wrecked by this LG and pushing right into it with 7 HP, getting that frog in the door. He's going to have to take a few 25s here. As a Nyx, Clawz will have a narrow opportunity to kind of return with this damage, but there's the mega back up. Xron is right back in tip-top shape. The armor's going to be up for Clawz, but he was trying to get some information on Xron before committing to it. Hopefully that doesn't turn into a trap for him as he comes potentially through the teleporter. We actually have Xron heading back over to LG. This gives him a weird place because he doesn't really have rocket launcher. He's got LG, he's got nail gun, but that's really his only opportunity to do damage from this position.
And now Xron going to be leaping back out. He's trying to do damage at range with his nail gun, as unfortunately the LG's not going to work at this range just yet. He's doing a decent amount. Remember, he's going up against a Nyx right now, so the Nyx is going to be taking quite a bit of damage, even for just one hit of the nail gun there. However, the Nyx is doing quite a bit of damage at range too. The rocket spam coming up against him. Kahan has not been able to move out and claim that just yet, so Clawz leaps over the statue, gets that last rocket hit, and now trades the kill back out, putting us into a Nyx v Nyx mirror matchup.
Really well played there, but that is the Ghost Walk forced off against Xron there, so Clawz has a little bit of an opportunity to go aggressive just like he did. Really well played there on the statue, just using those angles highly effectively. But here's the red room, and yeah, Xron doesn't really have anywhere to run, so as long as the damage is good, like we saw there, Clawz will be taking that frag, putting Xron down to his Ranger.
I think we should call this room Sunroom. Have you noticed if you look up into this shadow, right? There's like an artificial sun at the top of that room.
Yeah, it's a fancy lamp. I think they got it from IKEA.
So as the fight continues, Xron is going to push back out here, looking to try and shut down Clawz, the second champion. Now he's down to his last one. He does have to be careful though because he's on that last champion. He drops this one. He loses the round, and Clawz gets that early advantage to start things off. And after Xron just had that fast-paced match to move right here into the quarterfinals, he doesn't want to find himself knocked out that quickly again here. At least wants to keep himself in the tournament for another 30 minutes or so.
Again, the faith in the LG is paying off for them. I mean, it's got to feel so good being here on LAN, where it just doesn't get any better for your LG, for your Rails, for your Rockets. Feels good, man.
All right, so round number 1 closing out, and it's Clawz, our new player here into the arena that takes control. Let's see if he can continue that and try to run this up to a straight 3-0 victory, or Xron is now going to look to strike back a little bit. And oh no, he walks right into the Hornet's Nest with a quick turnaround on the super shotgun. Shuts down Xron very quickly and takes early control here. But you'll note, Xron did not spawn with the Sorlag as he's been doing for the last 2 series now. He actually went over to the Nyx first and kind of threw it away, unfortunately. So he is going to be going over to the Sorlag now to try to continue the fight, hopefully keep that in the match for a little bit longer, but no! Again, it's Clawz that dominates it. He's on the run, though. He's only got 23 HP. He's got to go for these 25s really quickly. That Mega health is up. He stays around here for a bit longer to get the armor, too. I'll try to go for the other bubble pickups, but quite a few of them are on respawn still, so he's still relatively low. And with his opponent getting control over that Mega health, he is going to be able to shut him down.
Getting out of that room is always so very difficult. I mean, that's going to be Xron down to his Ranger here. You know, being a longtime Quake player, I've always had a strong love for the shotgun, and I just adore the fact that here in Quake Champions, it is so strong, and we saw that there on the rocket launcher spawn. That's going to make this, again, a very quick matchup. I got to shut my mouth a little bit. I thought this was going to slow down a little bit, but both of these guys are playing so intensely. A nice little duck there to get away from that Nyx. Now look at that, Clawz is down to like, what, 2 health, something like that, and he's still pulling out a little bit of ambush and firing. Oh, the rocket goes wide. And we see Xron just whipping around with his own rocket launcher and taking him down.
Xron with a beautiful reversal here so far. Started out really far behind his opponent, but has been able to trade these kills back, and now brings it down to a 1v1. And we still have like an infinite amount of time in terms of Quake time here in this series, or in this round right here. We're only at a minute and a half into the round here, so there's still another 3.5 minutes before the timer becomes an issue. But even though we're down to the 1v1, the timer's not a problem at all. Next person to get a kill will win this round regardless.
All right, so Xron is definitely feeling the danger here and the aggression from Clawz, and it's going to be cutting right into him there as that first, or rather second round is taken by Clawz here. So very clean for him so far. Even with a lot of these messy fights, he tends to come out on top.
Yeah, so quick 2-0 start for Clawz here, and that's going to put Xron up against the wall. And we will have to see how exactly this will end up working out for him. Clawz falls back, and we'll have to see now as he starts things off. He gets himself the shotgun spawn, so he goes in, gets a quick pickup on that. He's got nail gun to work with here too, and in a moment, finally going to get himself a much bigger weapon to play with here as he goes over, gets the LG. He's getting spammed on by Xron. Xron will keep with that decision, despite how poorly it went for them at the beginning of the last round. He is still going to stick with the choice of going for the Nyx off the fresh respawn instead of starting off back on the Sorlag as he was doing back in round 1.
The unfortunate thing there is that once you've lost a ton of health in Sorlag, it takes so much time to stack back up, and again, more damage taken out here by Xron. A really good LG and rocket play, so as they potentially meet back here in Mega, that Mega is indeed going to be taken away by Clawz, but Xron's got to back out of here. In fact, he doesn't have quite enough room to evade the fight, and he's going to be going on down.
Well, Clawz pushing himself back here now. He's going to try to hop back up and see if he can lock down Xron. Indeed, he jumps right up on top of him. Even the dire report's not going to be enough. Locking him out completely there. Perfect spam coming out from the LG. And he secures a second kill now. One more. It's against the Sorlag, but one more. And he's got control, quick control over this first map.
Absolutely. So Clawz now coming over the top. We've got rocket launcher being pulled out by him, and with this height advantage, it certainly could go a long way, especially as he's pushing the fight onto Xron here at the armor. But who needs rockets when you got such strong LG? And it is indeed fantastic, or at least good enough to close out that round, close out that map, and GGs are called on Corrupted Keep.
So very quick for Clawz there, and we were talking about how, okay, maybe the series is going to slow down a little bit. They play for the same team. Maybe they know each other a little better. No, just throw that thought pattern out as we're right back into this high-octane action that we were seeing when he was playing Astro Boy just about 10 minutes ago.
But Blood Covenant, almost by design, has to be, at least on paper, a little bit slower. We're going to have to see if it pulls out that way here. Of course, they're going to be having another opportunity to pick up champs. I don't think the actual champs were as huge of a factor there. Of course, the Sorlag spit coming out against players like Anarchy and Nyx, always a big deal. Clawz was more than happy to make full use of it there. But again, a lot of really rough and tumble fights.
Not a lot of active ability usage coming out in general there, so it was pretty much just Maybe down to the health pool differentials a lot at the end of the day there. And the interesting decision from Xron as well to kind of save the Sorlag towards the end of it, I can understand that because it gives him room to make those mistakes before going over to his main champion and being able to kind of prioritize on that one, just kind of stay alive and figure out his opponent, what he's trying to do in each separate round. Because Clawz was kind of changing up his playstyle there a little bit too. Sometimes he was going right up in the face, sometimes he was hiding back a little bit more, waiting to try and ambush his opponent. So I can kind of understand the thought pattern, but ultimately it never really worked out for him at the end of the day. Still lost those champions very quickly and then never really came back at the end of the rounds.
He might still have a little bit of an itchy trigger finger from his last matchup there. I mean, there were a few moments where he had an opportunity to just kind of stay hidden and stay safe, especially when it was down at like 2 HP. But he just could not resist throwing out a rocket or two. And if it had connected, you know, we might be telling a different story about how amazing that comeback was. But unfortunately, it cost him.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, I mean, he's got to focus up here as we're going over to the second matchup. You say it's going to slow down. I don't think it's going to slow down.
I don't think so either at this point,
yeah. With that same pace, considering the fact that it's now been 2 different series. At the very least, Ron's going to keep with that pace, judging for the way that we've seen things play out so far. He was able to push in there. He did get the first kill in the very first round, so he was the one that initiated with that very aggressive play style, but it was Clawz that kind of came back at the end of the first round and then really took control. We're back into the selections, though. I see no reason why these would be any different than what we saw in the first map, but let's take a look anyway.
Not only Mirror Nyx, but Mirror Ruby Nyx. As we also have Ranger and Anarchy picked out here. Clawz is going to be going for Slash, actually, a bit of a change. Definitely helps you kind of keep control of the top. Place. Is Ron going to get a little bit tankier?
Sorlag. Oh, no. Visor getting
right.
All right, so some big change-ups apparently. I thought we were going to see pretty much the same lineups there, considering the fast play style, but apparently not. I do like the Visor pick, though. Because there was a lot of times where Xron kind of really lost the position of Clawz, and that active ability, for those, of course, that are newer to Quake Champions and don't know, the active ability is basically a free wall hack for a couple seconds. I think it is going to help him out quite a bit with trying to lock down his opponent a little bit more and figure out his pathing throughout the course of this very much larger map overall.
And again, like in Corrupted Keep, we didn't see too much use of the Nyx Ghost Walk to be all that aggressive, but with the Visor in play, it's going to be even harder to do that. A lot of it will come down to where you bring that champion into play. Visor does have a bit of a stack, though, so again, he's going to have a bit of a meatier lineup than his opponent there.
He's got a lot of speed, too, the Visor, as well, if you can stack it up. I think he's the only champion without a speed cap in the game, if I recall correctly.
Doesn't have the air control, but he doesn't have a speed cap either, so as long as he can kind of make those really wide corners, he's going to be able to be incredibly fast and agile.
Absolutely. So you got to watch out for that one. As we were seeing a lot of that in the last series too, from Xron himself, especially on the Sorlag. So I think he's going to try to use that on the Visor if he can, especially through the rocket jumps, which we saw a lot of rocket jumping on this map in the last series. No reason why we wouldn't see it again. Let's get into it though, folks. Our second map here on Blood Covenant. If we do see Clawz take control, then he's going to push forward into the semifinals. If Xron can take it though, it goes to map 3 to decide this.
All right, so we have Clawz being forced into the defensive Ghost Walk, thinking about turning it back around, but it's actually Xron who turns around and dishes out the LG to make this a 20-second frag, which certainly can happen here in Quake Champions, and I think we're going to be seeing more of it as Ron is going to be able to stack back up. He's looking for a play through the teleporter, maybe even a rail angle. Doesn't have a rocket launcher yet, just finally getting that grab, but actually I'm not sure what weapons Clawz would have other than, well, he's got LG, he's probably also got rail, but he's going to be coming right back up into that armor. It's something you want to do sometimes. You want to be able to push back up, make a fight happen at the item itself and get the item at the same time, but if you're 1 second off on the timing, that fight will not go your way.
Now, so Clawz already down to his last champion here as he goes over to the Slash. Nicely done as he gets in here, gets a nice free rail shot off onto Xron, so it knocks out some of that HP that he just picked up from getting the Mega Health, and now the Slash is going to very quickly swing over to the other side of the map, I believe, to try and get the armor pickup. Xron knows this is happening. He messed himself up a little bit there going through the portals, so he's going to miss this opportunity, but oh no! Here comes the trail, and we do see Xron popping off the emergency pop of the stealth. He gets the armor too, and just barely wins out that fight to take quick control, a 3-0 on the first round.
Fantastic LG, and as a Slash, you have to know that if you're playing against a Nyx and that armor is coming up, they're probably going to be invised on it, and that's exactly what it's going for. But the timing on the jump was a little bit off, opening himself up to all that shaft.
Round 2.
So getting into this here now. We'll see if Clawz can bounce back a little bit here after he drops the first round in pretty quick fashion. Looking like it was all Xron there. There's no responses coming up from Clawz at all, but we saw this in the last series too. Very one-sided rounds, and they were happening quite a bit, so it's not going to be too surprising if Clawz shows up now and turns this map back around.
Well, dropping down to the bottom, I do like the opportunities that Xron will have here for a bit of an ambush kill. He's being pretty loud about it, just focusing on speed and map coverage as opposed to trying to trap and ambush his opponent. But he's finally gotten a little bit of information on Clawz's position. It's going to be that heavy armor. He's still 8 seconds behind here, and in fact, it's a huge item difference between these two items right off the bat. So this is an opportunity, if the round does go on for a little bit longer, for Xron to do some real control here.
Clawz specifically is going to be kind of playing a lot. I mean, this is the most passive we've seen either of these players be so far in this series, just as a side note. But that's going to change pretty quickly as Clawz comes launching in. He knows the Nyx is somewhere nearby, so he's actually going to get pretty creative with the stealth pop. I thought he maybe would have followed it through and jumped into the side just to try and stay close quarters, but apparently not. He's okay with taking a long-range fight, and even without the scope there, hits that one right from the other side of the room. Does stand still, but he's able to just barely dodge that other shot coming out from Clawz. He has Xron on the run. He's very low, but he's already recovered that HP, as he did give Xron some room to breathe there.
I mean, Clawz was down to reliable health as well, so they're going to be trading items a little bit here. We have 12 seconds before this Mega comes back up, and that would be giving one of these Nyxes a huge edge. I think this is so far, you're right, the slowest game we've seen between them. I'm like, 1 minute and 30 seconds have elapsed without a frag? What is this game?
It's the most normal round we've seen played so far in this series. As though they are going to go at each other. Clawz hitting another great rail shot. It's going to put Xron into a very bad spot. He saw that stealth pop. He just had to figure out where exactly that Nyx ended up going. He's kind of lost it. Oh, he found her again. Hold on. He's trying to chase it back into mid. Oh, no, he thinks that little mystery there, thinking that she went back into the portals was going to cost him the kill there. Xron's going to be allowed to escape. Takes him a minute, but he is able to get out of dodge there and save himself. But he hasn't recovered any health just yet. There's still 5 seconds till the Mega health comes back up. And Clawz just going to come right back in here and pick it up for himself, too. So Xron hasn't accomplished a whole lot. And even that rail shot, all it does is give him away. Clawz, great job. He dodges that.
Yeah, good opportunity on the rail, and just a pity that it whiffed, but now Clawz is trying to push in, but really good use of the Ghost Walk as he's going up the jump pad. Like, yeah, I know you're going to be up there, but you're not going to be railing me in midair at the very least. So Clawz taking away just a little bit of armor. He can absorb exactly one rail. Xron right back into the same position. We've got heavy armor coming back up 8 seconds before Mega comes in, and if Clawz can catch Xron down at the bottom of pillars, that would certainly be helpful, but he's taking a little bit of a longer route. Oh, actually, it looks like Clawz is going to be down below, and he's got to realize as soon as he sees his opponent there that, yeah, this Mega is all mine.
Clawz specifically, messes up his momentum there a little bit with that jump. Hits the, whatever that is on the top. I don't even know what you've described that as. The spiked pillar coming down from the top of the ceiling there. Will end up messing up his momentum a bit, but it's not for too long. Then he gets right back into the thick of things and trying to lock down Xron, but Xron is just keeps trying to reposition himself here and get a better right to initiate against Clawz, but he can never find it. Clawz always locking him down is the problem, but never getting it to a point where you can actually fight Xron. That's the thing. Clawz isn't completely locked him down yet. Now he's going to bounce him though. There's a stealth pop. Clawz pops it right after. He's going to try to chase, but chases the wrong way. Sees the rail shot though, so now knows the general direction that Xron is going, but once again, Xron successfully evades Clawz, gets out of dodge, and prevents that death.
They're both still so weak, still so low here. I mean, this Mega's going to help out Xron, it looks like, for a little bit, but it certainly won't be lasting very long as Clawz is looking for these rail opportunities. Of course, when both of them pop that Ghost Walk at the same time, it's, you know, you have zero information about where your opponent is going, and it could turn into you both going completely opposite directions or running the same direction. So it's always a little bit risky, something I'm not very comfortable myself with. But Clawz is going to be stacking back up here on as much armor as he can. 6 seconds to Mega. He's throwing out a rocket to tell Xron, yeah, I'm back here. Let me see if you can throw out a rail hit. And so far, Xron has had the right idea on a lot of these rail angles, but the hits are not coming his way.
And now leading back in, he should have been able to spot that rocket into the corner, but didn't actually see it, so leading into this fight did great damage to Xron. Needs to chase this down, though. He popped the stealth really for no reason, knows where Xron is. Keep in mind the timer aspect of things here, too, now. This is the first time we really have to mention this, but in this series, anyway. But again, we're going over the 4-minute mark, and no one's been able to get a kill just yet, so whoever kills their Nyx first is probably going to end up winning this round, unless we see a really quick refrag.
Well, we hear a rocket splash. That means that Xron is not back over at the Mega side of the map. We still have Clawz taking a pretty long route to get there, so he's going to be getting there just after the pickup is made. But there's a rail, and Mega or no Mega, that doesn't really help you out too much when you're in Nyx. So Clawz now looking for that one last one to nail it in, and he might actually have an opportunity here. Ghost Walk is popped, and he's actually on the chase a little bit there, and he's made the wall jump very nicely. He's got nowhere to run. He tries to juke up the wall, and that nearly works out for him, but the splash damage is just strong enough. So with 2 seconds left, that overtime will mean that Clawz has taken the round.
Good attempt at a jump up there to try and get out of the way, or at least get out of hindsight of the rocket, but just a little bit too short, and the health pool was very low. I mean, Xron was on the run for Clawz for like 2 to 3 minutes, let's be completely honest here. Clawz had great control over that series the entire time. Just unfortunate for Xron that he was never really able to turn that back around. So getting back into it here into round 3 now, the series tied, or the map tied, excuse me, at 1-1. The series is in Clawz's favor, currently at 1-0.
All right, but the blind picks here for the initial champions are still turning into Nyx v Nyx, but there's an opening rail for Clawz. He doesn't have an LG, doesn't have a rocket launcher, he doesn't even have a nail gun in order to finish off that damage, but now with a rocket launcher in hand, he's trying to close the gap, looking for that drive-by rail, doesn't quite get it. And look at this, we just have Xron just diving into a rail like, yeah, I'm gonna get this, and you're not gonna hit me.
Now trying to find him in the middle of the open there. Not going to happen. Clawz getting hit too, but still staying in that fight despite being one-shottable by the rail. He'll now fall back as we have these spawns coming up at the same time. Clawz is going to pick that up. Only about a 2-second split here still, so not really stealable at this point.
Absolutely not, but Clawz still looking for these drive-by rails and actually coming up the jump pad. He might have an opportunity for one. He at least saw Xron crossing over to the other side. It's going to be a while before anything comes back up, so this is just an opportunity for damage. Now they are both about to have their Ghost Walk up, and it's actually going to be Xron maybe having to use it as Clawz is closing the distance here and looking for the follow. There it is, and not quite there. Oh, actually, can they see each other now? I saw a model.
Wait, what's up?
Just for me. I don't know if, I mean, it was discussed having Nyx be able to see other Nyxes while they're both Ghost Walked.
I don't believe they put that in yet. I think that was just, I think the dev said they were going to do that. I don't know if they actually put that in just yet, though.
All right. But it looked like pretty good tracking there. So Clawz, actually, speaking of tracking, has completely lost track of Xron here. We've only got 62 health for him now as he's looking for this armor, but it's going to be a while before it comes back up. We've actually got Xron in a great position to throw out the rails into LG, and the damage is done. One more rail would do it. Make that for both of them here. It's so dangerous, but there's the aggression coming out of Clawz, forcing the Ghost Walk, and there's the timing on Clawz's, but he's actually saving it. He's got himself in a position where he's not forced to use it.
Xron just barely staying alive right now. 23 HP. I'm sure if Clawz gets close enough, he'd pop that off, but Xron now having to fall back and recovering little bit by bit on his health pool there. Only up to 50 HP, but pushing back in, and there we go, leaping in. He's got so much momentum too, so it's so hard for Xron to hit a shot there. So there's that first kill coming out from Clawz. He's got the advantage. Still a lot more time to go in this round though, so there is still chances for Xron to come back. However, Clawz is going to keep the heat on. Despite him going up against the higher HP champion, he's not going to fall back, get this health pickup, try to finish it off at range. Going up against the nail guns, he's got to be a little bit careful. 2 of those will finish him off, and eventually does decide to kind of fade away from this one. He'll go for the mega health pickup and then look to re-engage, probably grabs that small armor down below too.
Yeah, that was incredibly risky. I mean, he went into that Ghost Walk with 20 HP. He came out of it after taking a nail at 30. So, yeah, you're right. A couple more nails would have done him in. But Clawz, barely getting out of there alive, is able to recover pretty nicely on a couple small armors and a mega. I mean, when you're up against a ranger, I mean, the tone definitely does change, especially when you're in danger of that dire orb. But Clawz dropping down here. Actually, no, he's going to be using a nice little wall jump to keep some height advantage. Just barely missing Xron as he's crossing over to rocket launcher. And also missing the timing for the heavy armor. Not good for Clawz, especially since that leaves Mega up. And it's just going to be a free Christmas present here for Xron.
Yeah, Clawz jumping back down here, puts his opponent into a corner. And now, with that stealth pop, he's going to let Clawz just barely escape this situation here. Xron starting to get a little bit of an edge. He not only just stole the mega health, but I believe he's on route to grab the armor too in a second. Just splitting the timers up a little bit more before he picks that up, and now he's going to dive back in. They only have about a 10-second split on each other.
All right, but there's a nice little rocket jump from Xron to cross over to Railgun. Clawz is going to be staying where he's at just for the moment. It's going to cut him out of the fight for Mega, but he's still looking for these opportune angles on the rail. Not quite hitting it, however. He was doing a little bit of a back and forth dance, and I think that might have cost him, but there's 2 solid rails now, and he's on the chase. This could be it. There's the LG to finish off Xron's Ranger, putting him on that visor, and for the first time here, we are seeing the potential for that counter ability.
Yeah, Clawz with a good lead here now, only with a minute left in the round too, so Xron's got to get 1 kill every 30 seconds essentially. He does have Clawz pushed into a corner on this on his Nyx, however, chooses not to pursue that kill right there. Not sure if he just didn't have the weapons to chase it, but regardless, he goes back. He takes control of the full armor pickup there, but Clawz is still going to have the mega.
That Mega is certainly going to help out a lot. I mean, just a little bit of buffer when your Nyx goes is really handy to have, but it's going to be a close range fight. Rockets on rockets. There's the bounce. There's the lock. Beautiful shot, and that is going to close out that round with Clawz in the lead.
I'm really interested to see how either of these players, being completely honest with you, with how fast-paced this part of the bracket has been. I'm really curious to see how they're going to face off against either Rafa or Cooler or one of those guys. That's generally tend to play it a lot slower. I'm very curious to see how that clash of playstyles is going to end up going when we get further into the bracket.
And I think if they've had any opportunity to watch the matches so far, they know that they're going to be in for a really uphill battle with all of these other players. I mean, getting this far in the round of 8 is fantastic, and of course one of these guys is going to be moving forward into the quarterfinals, but of course they need to do their research, and I think everybody does in this bracket.
Clawz actually nicely done despite not having any armor to work with here. He gets some great damage done on the rails here. He's looking for his opponent to leap back in. He did spawn him at the last second, sees him going away, and he's going for the chase here too. That health was not anywhere near spawning. It's still even now another 10 seconds away from being pushed back up. So Clawz gets the first kill again, but his opponent's going to spawn right next to him here.
And he's actually reading the drop down as well. I mean, when your opponent spawns at the heavy armor, without heavy armor even being up, that is a huge opportunity for you to go on the chase. And it's an opportunity that Clawz is still trying to track down. And there's one rail. One more would do it as he's able to take away Mega. He's going to be crossing the map here, and this might be deja vu. No, he's not coming back in for the rocket play. He's just trying to evade, maybe even grab a small armor, but no, he's just barely at 80 health here.
Tries to jump across. He's going to be able to take this fight closer in the Clawz's preferred weapon.
Wow.
And there's another kill. Clawz is taking control now. He's one more round away, mind you, from winning this series. So if he gets this last kill against the Visor, he's going to win this one out 2-0 and push into the semifinals very, very quickly here.
Well, eating a rocket like that is not a good way to start things off, but that LG is fine. He's also got he's got the Ghost Walk, he's got the double jump to keep him alive, and there's the aggressive LG, 19 health. This guy has 0 fear, but he does have a few more bucks as he's moving forward in the bracket.
So some great stuff from Clawz there as he will take control of this one. Quick 2-0 for him. He'll push through, knock out his teammate in the round of 8, and earn himself a slot in the semifinals where, if I remember the brackets correctly, I believe he is going to be going up against either Dahang or Rafa, pending the result of that match.
No biggie.
No, not at all.
That's going to be fantastic stuff, and of course we saw some really frantic, brutal play out of him. He's going to have to make sure that he keeps his wits and his aim sharp moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, like we said before, we're going up against either Rafa or Dahang, really. That playstyle match is going to be really fun to watch. You guys are definitely going to look forward to checking out that match. Like we were saying before, though, I did kind of lie before and said that last match was the last match on this stream. Now, as far as I know, this one is going to be the last one on this stream, of course, and all the matches from this point forward for the duel tournament are going to be featured over on the main stream. So that is going to do it for us here, guys, on the alternate stream. We hope you've enjoyed things, and like we said, go ahead, hop over to that main stream and check out the rest of the action as we push through and claim our first champion in Quake Champions here for the Quake World Championships. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.